Well, hello guys, I'm here, and we today are going to be reacting to how the Ninja Turtles was censored in other countries. If you were from the 90s and watched the Ninja Turtles and saw them as the hero turtles, you were probably wondering, what's going on, and I'll tell you. Well, I'm not going to tell you. Those YouTubers. It's kind of a weird reaction, but I like this guy's videos, so if you guys want me to react to him again, he has some pretty good videos.
There's been many animated incarnations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over the years, but the very original series came out in 1987. This was a smash hit, exploded in merchandise and a brand that's recognized even today. So naturally, it was shown in other countries. After all, that's how I saw it here in England. However, the version we got in the UK was weirdly different. They weren't Ninja Turtles, they were Hero Turtles. But why? The short answer is British media censored the word ninja, but that strikes me as being a bit too short. Like, why? What series of events led to the UK being so scared of ninjas? And the reason behind it turned out to be something of a rabbit hole. Or should I say, a turtle hole? No, I shouldn't say that. Starting in the 1960s, British school teacher Mary Whitehouse campaigned against the perceived rise of bad language, violence, and sex on TV. There was a general view by the right wing in the 1960s that Britain was becoming a permissive society, marking the death of a moral and respectable Britain. Good. So the Queen of Clean set out on a moral crusade to save our souls by fighting Doctor Who? What's going on? Yeah, so among the many things she rallied against, she called Doctor Who Tea Time Brutality for Tots, and that one episode contained some of the sickest and most horrific material seen on children's television. Wow! What episode was that? The brain of Morbius? God, that guy just can't catch a break, can he?
It's Morbin time!
So Mary Whitehouse's persistence was working. Her complaints led to episodes being re-edited, the series being moved to a later time slot, and subsequent episodes were explicitly instructed to tone down the violence. Oh look, it's a piece of media intended for younger viewers being permanently altered because of a moral outcry. I wonder if this will come up again later. She may have been a figure of ridicule, but she was winning. And the impact that media had on children was a subject of growing public concern, especially for conservative-leaning people, such as...
I've got to say, it was quite polite.
The Video Nasties.
Video Nasties, the Home Secretary says he won't change the law to ban them altogether.
In the 1970s, the...
Now, if you ask me, I think art should be art and people should be able to write what they want. Now, I'm obviously not saying you should give porn to children, obviously that's not what I'm saying. But I think you should be able to write what you want, but you should, you should listen to the law and listen to what you have to do. But, I think giving a character like a weapon should not mean the show has to be censored.
The VCR was introduced to the UK and films were released on VHS without age rating, so anyone could buy any movie at any age. The exception to this was erotic films, which fell under the Obscene Publications Act, which banned videos that tend to deprave and corrupt persons who are likely to read, see or hear the matter contained or embodied in it. Video hire shops were often raided to seize these obscene videos, including The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, a Dolly Parton musical that was definitely not a porn movie. The problem with this description of what defines an obscene video was really vague, and Mary Whitehouse took full advantage of this, as she pushed for more and more videos to be also seized, not for being pornographic, but for being obscene. This included Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
In my opinion,
Scanners
are horror movies. I'll have to cut that out. Let me... In my opinion, porn isn't just... In my opinion, media... Okay, James, yes? That's okay. We're just tossing around. Oh, show start. Where was it? I accidentally skipped to the end. So where was I? Ah, shit. I was, yeah. Okay.
Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But police could seize them at their discretion. The Friday the 13th Dead being obscene. This included Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scanners, Rosemary's Killer, Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th Part 2, and Mary's #1 nasty, The Evil Dead. These weren't technically banned, but police could seize them at their discretion, or to generally discourage video dealers so they wouldn't bother going through all the trouble of trying to sell them. But this still created a frenzy in the tabloids. This would eventually change thanks to the Video Recordings Act of 1984, which would now add a age rating system to video releases.
Which, why didn't they just do it instantly? I mean, come on, bro.
Just like cinema releases. Now, I don't think this is such a bad thing. Protecting really young kids from accidentally seeing a film they're not ready for is a pretty solid reason for age rating systems on videos. And obviously, I've seen movies rated 18 when I was under 18. We all have. But I like that there's a...
I mean, yeah, as a kid, my dad was watching a horror movie. I walked in and saw, and, you know, my dad said, oh, don't worry, you want to see us? You see a little boy die, and it scared the living shit out of me. I was scared.
Some guidance on what to expect, and I'd rather have a film rated for adults instead of being banned just because a teenager's head got a little bit removed. But that's the thing. The goal of this war on video nasties wasn't to protect the children. It was to get these movies taken away from everyone. And these are some of the most important movies in the history of horror, further cementing just how out of touch the attitude towards them were. Which, get this, she never watched in the first place.
I have never seen a video nasty. I actually don't need to see visually what I know is in that film.
Honey, you can't judge a book by its cover.
1973, Stanley Kubrick insisted on removing A Clockwork Orange in just England after his family received threats of violence while he was being accused of a film that would inspire acts of violence. Indeed, there were a lot of real-life murders and massacres that would be blamed on the influence of violent movies.
Research is taking place and it will show that these films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect dogs as well.
Wait, did he just say dogs or adults?
But I believe they affect dogs as well.
Dogs?
Affect dogs as well.
Dogs?
Dogs.
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 Dogs?
Dogs as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said dogs. So yeah, they got the blame based on studies that were often just made up, like a survey done to see if children had watched these video nasties, a study used by many political figures in arguments against them, except...
What we did is made up film titles, and when we gave that to school children, we found 2/3 of them claimed they'd seen films which never exist.
I think this unproven speculation about videos...
I remember a story about how a teacher put on Winnie the Pooh Blood Honey thinking it was Winnie the Pooh, and guess what happened? The kids didn't want to murder people. They were fucking terrified like most people would be. So it shows these kids weren't gasping in blood, wanting to cause rituals for the devil. They were scared because they were kids and they saw gore. And I feel like people don't know this fact, but horror is horror and it terrifies people. But it has an audience. Personally, I don't like horror. Horror scares me. But look at something like this. I don't want to be unholy, but I mean, even stuff like Jesus being hands on a cross scares me as a kid. I don't want to sound unholy, but it's scary to see a guy hung up like that. So seeing where Spider-Man sees Jesus, it scared the shit out of me. I was like, ah, fuck, because it's scary seeing the skinny guy wrapped up, covered in blood. It's like, it's creepy. Now, look, I'm not trying to say the Bible is wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's creepy, and I feel like there is horror out there, and people will be scared, but you should not ban all horror just because people get scared. We all get scared, but it does not mean you should remove it. In my opinion, no.
Influencing real-world violence is more gross than anything these films showed, because just like blaming heavy metal music or video games, it just lets mass murderers get away with being merely innocent victims who were just under a bad influence. Society will always want to blame others because it cannot blame itself for making the monster.
There is a rising level of violence in society and people are worried by it. It's very easy to look for something which actually has virtually no connection at all with what's going on, so let's blame it on that.
I don't deny the effectiveness of these films. I knew somebody who stopped taking baths after seeing Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
obviously, media has an effect on your behaviour. That's how advertising works. Get Surfshark today. But a film toying with your emotions can't just uncharacteristically alter you to do things you weren't already inclined to do. As Kubrick said, to attribute powerful suggestive qualities to a film is at odds with the scientifically accepted view that even after deep hypnosis, in a post-hypnotic state, people cannot be made to do things which are at odds with their natures. Basically, if a movie, a game, or a song was going to make them do it, they were probably going to do it anyway. This is a classic example of a moral panic. A moral panic is a means to drum up fear that some evil is a threat to society, and it's a tool that politicians fucking love to use. Because you not only get to invent a problem, you also get to solve it, and win a lot of votes in the process. And it worked for Margaret Thatcher.
A word from our sponsor.
Well, if you ask me, I think the terrible problems afflicting the United Kingdom
This isn't real, this is the guy dressed up.
today are not these video nasties, it's not Doctor Whom, and for once we cannot blame it all on poor people. Personally, I blame Surfshark VPN. They are, of course, a virtual private data thing, not a and this Surfshark will not only affect young people, but I believe they affect dogs as well.
How did they make like that? He really insulted the
James Furman, director of the BBFC at the time, was pretty lenient when it came to film classifications. One infamous example is Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, a film known for its extreme violence, and eating. Furman allowed it exclusively for private club cinemas, even though the police would still seize it. James Furman seemed to really understand the artistic intent, even in extreme examples like this. However,
The headlines at 6 o'clock. An armed man has opened fire with an automatic weapon in a Berkshire town. At least 9 people are dead, 14 are injured.
In 1987, Michael Ryan shot 31 people, killing 16 of them, including his own mother, and then himself. The Hungerford Massacre remains one of the UK's deadliest mass shootings. No motive was ever confirmed, but people blamed violent movies, such as Rambo.
To my impression, the way people were saying he was playing Rambo.
The events in Hungerford clearly
Bro, look, I don't want to insult anyone. I'm not
James
the type of person,
Furman,
but I played Rambo. Like,
he's the guy.
I played Rambo in Mortal Kombat. I'm not gonna kill my mom and then myself. It's not watching Rambo, it's not playing Rambo, it's not any fucking bit about Rambo. At the end of the day, Rambo is a movie. FNAF is a game. Godzilla, even though it's based off real events, is still by definition fiction. All of the shit is fiction, it's not real. And at the end of the day, I feel like so much people blame fiction for real mistakes. Now look, I don't want to insult these real people, because most of them didn't, most of them, you know, most of them, I feel bad for victims, that's what I'm trying to say. And at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is that yes, it is a sad situation, but I don't think fiction should be blamed. I mean, take a look at the Transformers movies. They're quite fucked up, but I wouldn't say they're killers. You know, like at the end of the day, take a look at something like, let's see, Godzilla, King Kong. I don't think we're bad, we're just dark.
In charge of certifying films. He's basically something of an arbiter of British culture, so he must have felt some partial responsibility for what happened. Because following this, coupled with the ongoing tabloid pressure of video nasties, he clamped down hard on violence and weapons despite artistic intent, such as rating Rambo 3 with an 18, despite it really being a 15, even with cuts. Which is just sad. This coincided well with the policies of Margaret Thatcher. She was seen as the solution for the permissive society, and led with the hardline policies of law and order.
Oh wait, I want some green vegetables. Wait,
Especially.
Speaking of video nasties, I'm sorry, Josh, but I want this pizza. Sorry, Josh, but I want this pizza timer. See, James pushed me, but I'm not supporting violence and saying violence should be supported. That's not what I'm saying. At the end of the day, this is by definition fiction. I am a real person with real thoughts and feelings, but
I didn't actually. He asked for me to push him.
Yeah, I wanted him to hit me to show, what would happen.
Hit me is the wrong word.
Yeah. Still, I wanted to show
free with an 18, despite it really being a 15, even with cuts. Which is just sad. This coincided well with the policies of Margaret Thatcher. She was seen as the solution for the permissive society and led with the hardline policies of law and order, especially against deadly weapons. You see, when Enter the Dragon came out in 1973, it was a worldwide sensation. Bruce Lee's posthumous masterpiece became one of the most influential films of all time, sparking a trend of other martial arts movies and TV shows to follow.
I was so close to becoming the ultimate ninja!
And the British press, once again, had a moral panic about it. This follows from a high-profile case in the 60s after a kitchen hand learned karate from a book and used it to murder his colleague.
Apparently, within 3 seconds, he killed the man stone dead.
This brought into question the safety of this karate, suggesting a potential full ban on the practice. And now here's even more martial arts, this time with weapons, and they're being sold in shops. They're even available by mail order. But like with the Real Nasties, the angle became, what if a child got hold of a foreign star? Like, obviously, that's bad, but by positioning the story in such a biased way, it becomes impossible to argue against. Oh, what, you want little babies playing with ninja stars, little ninja babies playing little ninja stars? Oh, what's wrong with you? But once again, the plan was to ban it for everyone. Home Office Minister John Patton said,
in my opinion, if you want to know my opinion, it's sad that a guy died, but at the end of the day, Kung Fu is still an art of fighting. Like, someone using Kung Fu, you'd be surprised they attacked, but at the end of the day, it's like, if you practice boxing, or practice a deadly fighting style, and you ever in a fight with someone, you kill them, no one really should be surprised. I mean, why would you practice a deadly fighting style if you're not wanting to kill someone? I'm not saying all people practicing martial arts are serial killers. My friend actually wants to learn martial arts, and I don't think she's a murderer. I'm just saying that it is quite a deadly fighting style, and it is very dangerous. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade at anyone that wants to learn martial arts. I don't think martial arts are deadly. I just think they are quite a deadly fighting style. But, they used it to kill people back in the day, so of course it would be deadly, yeah.
No part to play in civilized society. No civilized person should wish to possess them. Oh, but I thought everyone was kung fu fighting. So, okay. Were there any high-profile cases of an attack in the UK using ninja weapons? Nope, not that I could find. Never. I found articles about confiscating weapons and suspected weapons, and while I don't doubt somebody probably attacked somebody with a weapon at some point, it hardly seemed to be as widespread as the press was suggesting. The Home Office's public crime record of possessions of weapons only...
For a second, Lincoln.
Wait 5 seconds. Okay, just wait. Now, I do want to say one last thing though. In my opinion, I see weapons as an art form, but also as a weapon.
Can't really hide behind that door now, can I?
At the end of the day, if you kill someone with a gun, it is a weapon. It is bad. But at the end of the day, it's like how when I was working with my dad, I met a South Asian man, and he had a bunch of.
I think he might be.
James, I saw him. I knew he was.
All right.
Listen. I met this guy, and he had a bunch of weapons, and I asked to use one, and he said no.
Of course he asks to use them, right?
And he said,
have a job to do.
He said no, so he let me use his bow stuff. So, in my opinion, some of these movies shouldn't have been banned, because some of them were history movies, and I don't think you should ever censor history.
Starts from 1998.
Unless it's a kids' movie, yeah.
Due to the changes on how crimes
Well, it should be a real one to show how it actually
were counted.
went down, no?
Crime statistics do show a general increase in the 80s and the 90s, but that's of all crimes, with or without weapons. And while we don't exactly want a kid to be killed by a foreign star to only then act upon it, other than sensationalist articles, I'm not finding much to actually support the paranoia of ninja weapons. What did happen, however, were riots. Lots and lots of riots. With a hard line on law and order, police were allowed to do random stop and searches, and by random I mean mostly black people, called the sus law.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
This was a thing. So the growing mistrust of the police saw the rise in tension become riots in Brixton in 1981, and then again in 1985, and then the miners' strike. Basically, Thatcher was very good at pissing off a lot of people. So I think a motivating factor of the Offensive Weapons Act in 1988, with the inclusion of ninja weapons, was to try and undermine the fighting power of the rioters, just before the poll tax riots kicked off. Similarly, Thatcher had a heavy-handed approach when it came to football hooliganism, and how they were allegedly bringing ninja throwing stars to football matches.
Yeah, we go to football! Woo! And then instead of like, you got a fat guy swinging his shirt, you have a fat guy swinging a ninja star going, yeah, England, let's go! And he's just throwing ninja stars in the air.
A huge concern for Thatcher that the increased police powers to control the violence resulted in one of the deadliest football events ever. The Hillsborough disaster of 1989, in which Liverpool supporters were crushed by overcrowding, resulted in 97 deaths. Despite this being proven to be caused by the actions of the police, the right-wing press was quick to put the blame on the victims. This is so demonstrably untrue that the Sun newspaper continues to be boycotted in Liverpool to this day. Good. So
they deserve it. I don't think that's never right, and you should never blame the victims of a tragedy for what the people did.
Many were clutching at their pearls, worried about these unruly mobs of rural rioters. So just as there was a ban on these weapons in the real world, there were also bans on these weapons in movies and TV. And James Furman was taking a stance against nunchucks. When Enter the Dragon had a 1988 VHS release, Bruce Lee's iconic nunchuck scene was cut. The cover had to be altered. That just looks like a baguette. Even this scene with a poster of Bruce Lee just holding that just looks like
that looks more like a breadstick to me.
Baguette. Even this scene with a poster of Bruce Lee just holding nunchucks had to be cut too.
Someday I'm gonna be...
Okay, let's go now, right now.
Altered? That just looks like a baguette. Even this scene with a poster of Bruce Lee just holding nunchucks had to be cut too.
Someday I'm gonna be just like him.
So the ninja weapons, despite having no real inciting moment beyond the popularity of Bruce Lee, a moral panic was once again created. One that created laws and legislations that made the Thatcher government look great, because they were firm and unwavering, all in the name of keeping the peace and saving the children. And unfortunately, this was the sorry state of Britain when the turtles hit our shores. COWABUMMER.
Now, look, I don't want to be political here, but I feel like if we just left movies to be movies and just added the age rating, because remember, there was riots. I mean, you saw footage, cars were on fire and shit. Lots of bad shit was going on. And you have to remember, this is all of fucking movies. All this shit happened because movies. If they just stopped about movies, none of this would have happened. And if we just censored it, none of this would have happened. Showing once and for all, you can't. Media, in my opinion, like, look, I own the first Ninja Turtles movies, Turtle movie, and the third one, both were Michael Bay ones, 2007, Ninja Turtles 2003, and the Next Mutation. I own all those shows. I like the Turtles. I'm reviewing some more action figures on AliExpress. I bought a few of them, so I actually like the Turtles. I did it just for that. So I want to say, I think weapons should be in media, personally, and I think it's not wrong to give weapons in a kid show. Because remember, not everyone has to use a weapon and have a weapon, if that makes sense.
Oh, those poor turtles. They didn't stand a chance. Drawing clear influence from the martial art classics like Bruce Lee with 80s action movie attitude, the turtles were set to take the Bruce Lee with 80s action movie attitude, the turtles were set to take the world by storm. But the UK was between moral panics of how the media affects kids, ninja weapons, and fighting in the streets. And although Thatcher was on her way out, the turtles couldn't have come at a worse time. But with a huge franchise and merchandise opportunities, the Turtles couldn't not come to the UK, so they had to comply with the censorship changes. And they were not come to the UK, so they...
Is that Raph? Wait, no, that's Mikey. That's Mikey, his friend.
Had to comply with the censorship changes, and they were brutal. Following the cuts from Enter the Dragon, Michelangelo wasn't allowed to have his iconic nunchucks, meaning they had to be constantly removed with some really bad edits.
Wanna play dirty, huh?
Strike one, dude! Strike two!
You missed!
You think so?
How fucking powerful is this blowing power?
So you wanna play dirty, huh?
You think so?
I mean, not you get blown by Mikey. Mikey, you lose your dick.
And there was, of course, the name.
Remember, we're the Crooked Ninja Turtle Gang. Here's our card. We're the Crooked Turtle Gang. Here's our card.
Ninjas couldn't be seen to be glorified to kids, so they were awkwardly...
Now, I don't get how... Remember the R-rated animated Spider-Man movie that we haven't got yet?
Here's our card.
Ninjas couldn't be seen to be glorified to kids.
Leo can run with katanas. Johnny gets a bow staff and Raph gets shurikens.
But they were awkwardly renamed heroes. We never got this.
I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you a fact, seriously. There's study reports saying that nunchucks aren't even good weapons, and no one in the history of history...
Study reports, we just googled it and said it wasn't that good.
No one in the history of history has ever actually won a war or a fight with nunchucks. So, nunchucks are not even good weapons. So it really makes you realize how strong Liu Kang is if he could use such a bad weapon and become the Mortal Kombat champion with it. I mean, look. It takes years to be good at swinging it. It would probably take a lifetime to actually be able to win a war with it.
I gotta say, you think it turned him into a fire god removed what made him so likable?
Nah, I think it's cool. Now, let me explain. And I don't think...
Remember when you made fun of Batman fans for no reason?
Oh, that's almost what I forgot. Michael Rosen, an iconic British figure, also is dead.
My nephew met Michael Rosen. His nephew, Sonny.
Michael talks about how his parents yelled at him and were rude. Nothing, and how his brother, beated him and yelled at him.
But those stories are probably not true.
And that would never come out today. You can never say my parents yelled at me, Unless it was like some serious drama. I mean, just look at Horatomi.
Swirly logo, we got this janky edited version. Look at this mess. What is this lettering? This bit of the T has fallen off. Why is it so weirdly fuzzy? And it's not even straight. Yeah! Even the live action show, the Next Mutation, the one that added the fifth turtle, Venus. They too had to have the Ninja Hero name change. Although the censors had no control over video games, the hero moniker was kept, presumably for brand recognition. Dude, I could be gaming. The movies,
Dude, I could be fucking gaming.
Are you taking a file on the Next Mutation? I've
Just go check my one, guys.
However, were allowed to remain ninjas, but still condition.
Well, let me show you guys something. But these two, this one is Ninja Turtles, and this one is Ninja. So, thank fuck we finally got the ninja variants in these movies. And I'll show you guys something too. Gladfully, all of the Ninja Turtle movies I own keep ninja in the title.
Dude, I could be
gaming right now.
The movies, however, were allowed to remain only for brand recognition. Dude, I could be gaming. The movies, however, were allowed to remain ninjas, but still faced severe cuts, to the point where other members of the BBFC challenged James Furman, saying the film had been ruined in the process, but the anti-nunchuck ruling remained.
Wow! A fellow chucker, eh?
The second Ninja Turtles movie, The Secret of the Ooze, faced a lot of problems. Parental groups said the first film was too dark, there were school bans, and even toy companies pressured the sequel to be much lighter, with the violence significantly watered down. And it still didn't work. Aside from the mixed reviews, it faced the soopiest cut in the history of British cinema. At one point, Michelangelo uses sausages like nunchucks. You're probably already guessing where this is going. They're clearly not nunchucks, they're sausages, perfectly safe, unless you're a pig. But because he used them like nunchucks, James Furman insisted that even the sausages got the chop. And despite everything, despite all the cuts and changes, the Hero Turtles were still an absolute sensation. Turtlemania swept across the UK, and how did the press react to this? Can you guess? Go on, have a guess. Yeah, that's right. It's another moral panic! Yay!
It seems every classroom in Britain is hit by Turtlemania. Turtlemania.
Turtlemania.
Turtlemania is sweeping Britain.
We are teaching violence to our children to almost become...
Can't you just let a kid have fun? I mean, you know what I remember? I remember when the Wild House episode came out, I remember this YouTuber said, "They're turning our kids gay." And that's legitimately the way he talked. And I'm just thinking the same way where this guy was like, "Oh, I don't like SpongeBob fucking Sandy's okay. I don't care if it's, bestiality because they're different species." But when Steven Hillenburg said sponges were bisexual, so SpongeBob's bisexual, edited say, "What the fuck?" And that ended. Dude, SpongeBob is a sponge. The creators willingly, Steven Hillenburg willingly wanted it to be a sponge. Like, Bumblebee doesn't have a sexuality because he's a car. Our version's always in love with Cybertronian woman, but most of the time he has no sexuality. He's usually a lone wolf. Or, take a look at Godzilla. He has no sexuality. Yeah, we ship him with Mothra, but he has no sexuality. At the end of the day, these characters don't... Well, I'm gonna be truthful. I don't think... I will never believe it because it's not true. This isn't true. I don't believe if you make a character gay, you'll become gay. Like, is a character who's hot? They're like, Dan, he's hot, or Dan, she's hot? Yes, but that doesn't automatically turn you gay. Like, my friend and me were talking about Power Rangers, and, she has a few fan theories, so some of them are gay, but obviously the critics couldn't make them gay, because, well, you know why. I mean, even the original Blue Ranger was gay, and everyone insulted him, calling him a puff and a weakling. It's sad, but that was the world we lived in, and I don't think that's right, personally. I don't think, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Right all the time, I genuinely feel this way. And I don't think people should force that cartoons mean real life. Like, listen, do cartoons have a lot to say about the world? Yes, and I do genuinely believe that. I mean, there's South Park commonly talked about this issue and how it's fucked up and bad. And I agree with those episodes. There's lots of episodes in media that said people should just shut the fuck up and let media be media. That's how I genuinely have always felt about the subject. And that's how I still feel about the subject today.
You can't enjoy that massive diet of violent entertainment and not be affected.
Comic heroes like the Turtles can be a threat to young minds.
There was a surge of kids getting real turtles and terrapins to have, not as pets, but as toys, leading to many animals suffering. Many were dumped in lakes, but some of them survived and are still there now. Also, don't dump unwanted animals, you fucks! There was also the fear that these animals could carry salmonella, which was
I agree with him. But remember, most of these were kids that didn't know what they were doing. And look, I'm not justifying them. But look, like, here's what happened. I was once at a park, and I was 15 all the time, and I said to a person, hey, you know, white bread is dangerous for ducks, right? He said, you fucking piece of shit, to a child, followed him back home when I was trying to run away from him, and he was sweating from his infant daughter. My sister met him and forced us to leave. You know what I want to do? I want to grab a fucker's hair and pull out his fucking scalp. Because I just told him it was animal abuse and they can't eat it. You bully and harass a kid! Like, people like him deserve to go fuck himself. But it doesn't matter. It does matter, but we shouldn't talk about it. At the end of the day, animal abuse is wrong, and that's all I'm trying to say.
Whole other panic the UK was having at the same time. The popularity of pizza partnered well with another panic, this time about obesity in children. And there was one really bizarre trend of kids climbing inside sewers.
The council knows it has a battle on its hands trying to stop children climbing into sewer drains.
Children had actually taken wood into the sewers and what looked to us to be a den.
An ordinary manhole cover like this one had to be cemented over after small children climbed down inside and built a den.
Hey, I was a kid of the 90s. I like turtles.
I like turtles!
But I would never go into some shit-smelling hole in the ground just because I might meet Donatello. But April O'Neil? No, that's upgraded to a maybe. It seems weird.
That's upgraded to a maybe. So, I do agree with childhood obesity thing though, and I feel like this has actually got worse as it's been going on, and I do think I don't think censoring is alright, because it's been proven time and time again censoring is not alright. There was a guy who tried to censor, you know, fizziness, and lots of people hated it, so I don't want to be hated to give my opinion there, but I do think fizzy juice, and, you know, it is a bit bad, also obesity in our country, because people are going to be fat, and being fat is not where it's at. People give their life being fat, and the worst part is most of these fat people that die, they die in agony, and no one to admit they were being unhealthy. You know, like, I've seen fat people never admit they were wrong, or they were being fat, and I know it's fucked up to say, but gluttony is a sin. So most fat people have shoved their mouth full of fatness, of, you know, raw cakes and sweet treats are probably in hell because gluttony is a sin. I know it's fucked up to say, but it's probably true. I mean, it's a sad world we live in. I hope people know that. I just hope people stop eating as much candy. I know this video will help more of 0 people stop eating as much candy, but I know I'm a hypocrite for eating cake, and I know it, and I've been trying to help with my diet and actually go to the gym, because I know I'm unhealthy, yeah.
Stated how much of a huge craze the turtles were. But was this really the show's fault? Didn't the parents buy all those terrapins? And to blame the show or the movies for kids injuring themselves and worse just for playing make-believe games is just bad faith.
No film that teaches violence powerfully should be given a PG rating.
At what age would you let your children see Ninja Turtles?
I wouldn't let them at any age.
What's that? That sounds like banning it for everyone again. Hooray! So the story behind the turtles in the UK is a complicated one. To be clear, this isn't a case of the British being overly sensitive, and for all the loud outcrying voices, there were just as many pointing out that the concerns were baseless. Professor Stanley Cohen explains the stages of moral panics. 1. Something is defined as a threat. 2. Threat is simplified and amplified by mass media. 3. The public feels anxious. 4. Leaders create a solution to the threat. 5. The threat is no longer a threat. He adds, sometimes the object of the panic is quite novel, and at other times it's something which has been in existence for long enough but suddenly appears in the limelight. Sometimes the panic passes over and is forgotten, except in folklore.
Like, I saw this video about veganism, and it basically explained to me why you eat animals, but animals eat each other. And that explains the hypocrisy of being a human being. We're sentient, basically. Why we can see violence as wrong, and believe in even gods is because we have a level of sentience most creatures don't have. At the end of the day, a pig ain't gonna know what a god is, but a pig will know when its dinner's coming. And at the end of the day, well, the pig won't even know what time, it'll sniff it. But at the end of the day, the problem with humanity is we're sentient. I know my time is coming soon. I will one day be dead, and this will be my legacy. People will remember this. But that's because I'm sentient. I know my fate. I know what it is to be sentient. But you know the problem with being sentient is when you become sentient, you learn. And the problem with being learning is that you become too sentient. I know what it's like to believe that all stuff in the world is wrong and evil. People believe stuff is evil, and why people can believe obesity is bad, or violence is bad, or sex is bad, and oh shit, it's because we're sentient creatures. We know, and we've learned. At the end of the day, what did the first man do when he went on Earth? Like, seriously, what did the first human do? We don't know. But they probably had sex, ate, killed, and who knows, probably cut some plants to do drugs. We're all sinners, as God has famously said. And we're all sentient about it and feel bad. The difference between us and a monkey is that a monkey isn't that sentient. A monkey will still eat its bananas and rip another creature's face off and see what doesn't know why that would be seen as brutal or revolting or evil. As humans, we live by different philosophies. Like, that's why so much people feel bad for the Giga, and she's just an animal, and she has no moral code compared to us. And that's the problem with humanity. Humans are sentient. The problem with being sentient is, well, I'll explain it this way, since I have one last minute. I'll explain it in a minute. Being sentient is like knowing there's something else in this world. Knowing that, well, it's hard to explain what sentience is. But it's not like being an ant, where ants just walk and go in a line. You have your own uniqueness. I mean, I'm not just James's shadow. James isn't just my shadow. We have our own YouTube channels. We're a species that likes to be unique. We're a species that also likes to follow and listen to commands. At the end of the day, our biggest flaw is that we're sentient. And if we weren't sentient, I wonder what would have happened in our world. Because humanity are the most sentient creatures on this earth. So if we weren't sentient, it makes you wonder what would happen to us. Because at the end of the day, you know, there's so much movies that scare. Look, Jurassic Park scared me, but I wouldn't want the movie banned because that's a really good plot.
Collective memory, and at other times it has more serious and long-lasting repercussions, and might produce such changes as those in legal and social policy, or even the way that society conceives itself. We can look back on all this turtle stuff as all being very silly, but there's always a moral panic trying to emotionally manipulate you. Be it a panic about The Simpsons, video games, or trans people who just want to exist. As I've shown, moral panics are heavily used for political point scoring by weaponizing outrage to win votes. They may seem goofy in hindsight, but this tactic is nothing new, is still going, and can cost lives. So, the next time some conservative complains about free speech,
Tell them to be shut the fuck up, or be shut the fuck up. Tonight I dine on turtle soup.
Don't forget to check out Surfshark, and a special shout out to this month's patrons: Joe Wood, James Junk, Ashley Kinder, Rusty Robot, Setsune Wave, Jake Pinkerton, Alex Weston, Ashley Bird McCarthy, Liam Deeney, Lyra Faye, Mo Alcasemi, Sloan Schoolcraft, Drifter Wolf, Vinfex, Matthew Smith, Brett Halford, Cam Wamsley, Nathan Chominati, Mark Cunner, Ninja Squid 2000,
I
and
should say what we're all thinking. I want you guys to know. But I feel like media can explain a lot about humanity and what even it is as a concept. And in my opinion, that's what humanity is so afraid of. Like with Twist is, you know, what Lana was a lesbian. Lots of people hate that twist. And that explains a lot about society, how we were raised, how people were raised to not like gay people, and how gay people were seen as weak and unmasculine. Now, I don't think it's wrong to be unmasculine. masculine, because at the end of the day, it's your life. Or the stereotype of woman having to be born in the kitchen. It's all fucked up, but that's the past. And I think the past should never be censored to show why we move on as a species and why we go on. Well, this video's been kind of hard to take in, so I will have to add a trigger warning. So, thank you guys for watching.